Proclamation. Police Chief Steve Hagan Day. Hagan. Let's wing this now, Chief. Whichever way it goes. Whereas the decision to become a law enforcement officer is not one taken lightly. Much is asked of our officers, often involving duties well outside the scope under the strains of limited resources, and simply because no one else can take the call. This call to public service brought Police Chief Hagan to the Helena Police Department on October 30th, 1991. Whereas those in the ranks of HPD are more than fellow officers and colleagues of Chief Hagan, their family, demonstrated in his kind comments and devoted support at each swearing-in ceremony. Chief Hagan provides each newly sworn officer a gift and a challenge home to honor the service and the service of their families. Whereas in 2019, Chief Hagan oversaw the move of HPD into the new Law and Justice Center, giving Helena Police a new home worthy of the officers who serve. Whereas in 2020, as the COVID-19 pandemic took its mental and physical toll on all levels of government, but especially on the first responder and law enforcement, Chief Hagan demonstrated stability and dedication to service, giving his officers the resiliency and motivation needed to serve under the immense stress. Whereas in the summer of 2020, when many were questioning the role of police and policing, and violent protests erupted throughout the nation, Helena's own demonstration remained relatively peaceful. Chief Hagan led his department to be the example of engaged community policing, even intervening personally in all altercation to prevent his officers from being part of the news, instead part of the solution. Whereas every day our law enforcement officers put on a badge and prepare for a day which will bring community problems well beyond the power and authority to solve. Chief Hagan advocated for additional resources for all who are struggling. The chief understood while these were not necessarily HPD's problems to solve, the officers were often the front line in assistance in those in crisis. He expected compassion and kindness in his officers in dealing with those in need. Whereas while the struggles of mental health are all too real in our greater community, the mental health of HPD's officers was separate to Chief Hagan, working tirelessly to seek out further resources for those who work out their door to face the most troubling aspect of our community, and who do the work understanding the risk, even to their own safety, has become even greater due to the dramatic upheavals in our way of life. The Helena Police have shown up for duty day in and day out, serving with honor and kindness. This service is a reflection of a great leader, a great chief of police. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Roller Collins, Mayor of the City of Helena, Montana, declare Friday, December 31st, 2020, as Police Chief Steve Hagan's Day, in gratitude for his 30 years of service to the community. This commission and Helena resident, the City of Helena is grateful for his leadership and wishing the best for whatever the future holds for him and his family. In witness whereof, I hereby set the head and cause the seal of the City of Helena, Montana, to be affixed this 20th day of December 2020. Signed, Wilbur J. Collins, Mayor, Renee Claiborne, Clerk of the Commission. I also have another presentation presented to Chief Steve Hagan in appreciation for your many years of loyal service to the City of Helena Police Department and the residents of Helena, 1991 to 2021. Of course, we have cards also. I'm not going to open them. You can open them at your leisure and do what you want to do. But I just want to reiterate that we've been blessed to have you as chief of police. The city is forever indebted to you for all your years of service. We want you to know that we appreciate you and we hope you will stick around Helena. But knowing you look like you're going to hit the road, Jack. So congratulations and good luck. You want to say a few words?
I will come up with the vote.
Please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. If I could have a few minutes, I'd like to say a few thank yous. If you'd let me do that, I'd appreciate it. First, I'd like to thank the commission for challenging me the last year and a half. It's helped me to turn my focus onto why I became a police officer and later agreed to accept the position as chief of police. Since this is also Commissioner Halliday and Commissioner O'Loughlin's last meeting, I would like to thank them for their many years of service to the citizens of Helena. Thank you very much. Mayor Collins, I would like to thank you for your support you have shown the police department these past years. I admired your courage and support despite the pressures I believe you must have faced over the last few years. Danae, thank you for always being there to help and support me and others through a very difficult couple of years. You've always gotten done what needs to be done. Being able to do this through very difficult times and through a pandemic is truly amazing. Rachel, thank you for allowing me to give my opinion, your understanding, and working with me this past year despite me being a high maintenance team member. Also, thank you for your dedication to wanting to make the city of Helena a better place to work and live. So for both Danae and Rachel, I have a challenge coin. These are a sign of respect from the police department, and I very much respect both of you. Thank you very much. I'd also like to thank the community. It has been truly an honor to serve and protect you for the past 30 years. The love and support you've shown your police department are beyond measure. To each and every member of the Helena Police Department, thank you for all you do each and every day to make the city of Helena a wonderful place to live, work, and visit. You are the example of what a community should receive from its police department and dispatch center. I love you all and will miss you. This one's going to be the hardest, I'm sorry. Lastly, but surely not the least, is my wife, Barb. Without you, I would never have been able to remain in this job as long as I have. I know there have been rough days and rough years, but your love has been my strength. I have spent a long time serving and protecting the people of this country and community. Now I will do my best to serve and protect you and be your strength. Mayor and Commission, despite the past 3 years being the most difficult of my career, I have no regrets about the profession I have chosen or the service to this country and the service to the city of Helena. I will close with a quote from the police leadership training I attended many years ago. If you do this job properly, there is no more noble thing you can do with your life. In leaving the city, I hope that my wife, those that I served, and those who have been lucky enough to serve alongside believe that I've done this job properly. And Mayor, when you give me another opportunity, I will introduce the new Assistant Chief of Police.
Please.
Brett Petty will be promoted to Assistant Chief of Police on the 26th of December. Brett, if you want to step up. I would, if you give me just a moment, I'd like him to introduce himself, Mayor, if that's okay.
No, I sure didn't. Thank you. Mayor, Commission, thank you. Very looking forward to this. I want to thank Steve for his strong leadership and having the faith in me to continue on the police department. Okay. I look forward to the many challenges and get with it and go from there. Thank you very much. your day.
That's all I have tonight, Mayor. Thank you very much. I
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
Chief. Commissioners? It's open. Do you have a few words?
Mr. Mayor, would just like to take a minute to thank Chief Hagan for his many years of service to the Helena community. I can think of no more honorable and important position in a community than a law enforcement officer, and those that take that, make that decision to serve in that capacity and serve honorably. We all owe a great debt of gratitude to, and I've been able to watch Steve progress throughout his career from a street level cop. We went on a number of calls together and work his way through the ranks and ultimately into the leadership of the Helena Police Department. And I can think of no better way to describe his service than is actually emblazoned on each patrol vehicle that's owned by the Helena Police Department. It says honor, professionalism, devotion. And I think that very much describes Chief Hagan. And I thank you very much for your service. Would also like to wish you the best in your retirement. I can tell you from experience that it takes about an hour and a half to get used to. And I fully expect if I were to see you in about a month, probably have a full beard
Oh, yeah.
and maybe let the hair go a little bit.
I was thinking a man bun.
Yes. Enjoy your family, enjoy your time. You've earned it. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission, and thank you, Chief Hagan. It's been a true honor to work with you over these last 4 years. Thank you for your incredible service to the city. And I would just note that, in addition to your leadership within the department, you served as acting, city manager a number of occasions over the last couple years. And I just want to say, that you have my gratitude for that. You've been a steady hand, not just for your department, but for the city as a whole. So just want to thank you for everything and wish you all the best in retirement. I agree that it is well-deserved, and thank you for everything.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Mayor, Chief, I don't know if I can add much more that's more eloquent than the last few statements, but I think that the leadership that you've shown over the last few years is really an example for the country. I think that the department has conducted itself under your leadership with a lot of grace, and I'm really proud to have come into this position with someone like you to show us the ropes. And I'm really just appreciative of all of your service, and also wishing you a lot of really excellent fishing trips in the coming summer.
Don't forget winter. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Chief, thank you.
Thank you. I don't know, did I forget to turn on the camera? Thank you. See? Thank you.
Okay. Consent agenda. Oh, man, we're just moving along. Madam Clerk, would you take the roll, please?
City Attorney Joden,
Here.
City Manager Harlow Schulk,
Here.
Commissioner Halliday,
Here.
Commissioner Dean,
Here.
Commissioner Logan,
Here.
Commissioner O'Loughlin,
Here.
Mayor Collins.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You bet. Consent agenda. Growth, Powderhorn Court vacation, amended plat. Is that for you, Manager Hollishaw?
It is. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, and nice to see you all this evening. I wanted to get to the consent agenda items. These are items that are brought to the commission for typically claims, distribution of funds, and other items when they do not require further review by the commission, a hearing, or a presentation because they've either been discussed before or all requirements are met of the items, ensuring to the commission that staff has assured compliance with appropriate and all applicable community and state requirements. As a result, you'll see on this two things. First, the word growth, and I'll underneath the city manager update share more around the application of that word there. But I also want to recommend to you these two items be approved on consent, and you entertain a motion to amend the plat for the Powderhorn Court right-of-way in Aspen Park at Mountain View Meadows. And I also recommend you approve on consent and entertain a motion, the staff recommendation for major projects within the open lands. This item was reviewed under the September 14th, October 12th, and November 9th, not only commission administration meetings, but also community meetings. This item also includes assurance from me to this community that the major lands projects will be moving forward within the parameters of at least 60% design, as well as feasibility study and funding. Thank you, Mayor.
Discussion from the commission. Excuse me.
Mr. Mayor, I just have one question on the major projects, public process, and then the projects for the 2020 season. As we discussed at the last meeting, there's parts of that are going back to the working group and then will come back to the commission before adopted, correct?
The question is for
For the city manager.
Thank you, Commissioner, Mayor, and Commissioners. Absolutely, any of the projects, first, they all have to go through the budget process, but as I shared, the 60% as well, feasibility study and funding, all three processes have to come back to the commission. Nothing can move forward, and I will and have already requested a summary of how that implementation will look in the coming months so that things are public and out in the community. As far as the overall process is concerned, it did go through the adopted WOMAC and community input process as part of the open lands and trails section of the parks master plan, and those elements that were discussed as well at our previous city commission meeting, commission administrative meeting, were incorporated.
Okay.
Any other comments from the commission? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, would you like these motions to be separate? Is that
Yes, please.
accurate? Okay.
We can
Thank
go
you.
together.
I
Let's do it
would,
together, Commissioner.
in that case, I would move to accept consent agenda items A and B.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Madam Clerk?
Pardon me. Commissioner Halliday,
Aye.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Loughlin,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Communications proposals from commissioners. Well, I have some things to say. Commissioner O'Loughlin. I want to thank you on behalf of the commission. And I'm presenting this plaque to you in your years of service to the city, to the people in the city of Helena. I want you to know that you will be missed. The city of Helena was blessed to have you on the commission. Thank you. Commissioner Halliday. I know this is not what you like, but I don't care what you like anymore. I just do what I want to present this plaque to you for your many years of dedicated service to the Helena community and this commission. I want you to know we appreciate you, and we will miss you, and I personally learned a lot from both of you. So thank you. Commissioners, if you want to say a few words, it's up to you.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thanks for both of your service. I know that I will especially miss Commissioner O'Loughlin's expertise during the budget this coming spring, but I'm sure that you will be a phone call away. And also thanks to Commissioner Halliday. I think your historical knowledge has been really valuable. And I really appreciate your willingness to share that during commission meetings.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
echo that. I'd like to thank Commissioners O'Loughlin and Halliday for their service to the citizens of Helena and for their service to us. And just wanted to say thanks. As Commissioner Dean pointed out, I learned a great deal from both of them in the 2 years we've been together. So wish you the best of luck in the future.
Do you want to say anything?
Well, if Commissioner Halliday wants to go first.
Commissioner Halliday is on strike today.
Okay. Well, I will just say thank you to my fellow commissioners and to the mayor. I think that this is, one of those things that not everyone has a good sense of what the commitment is. And I think just want to say thank you, Commissioner Logan, Commissioner Dean, for your service as well, and the commitment, that this is, and to the city. I also just want to recognize the past commissioners that I've had the privilege to work with, Rob Ferris Olson, Callie Wicks, and of course the late Ed Noonan. There is not a meeting, I don't think, that goes by that I don't think of Ed and his wisdom over the 2 years that I had the privilege to work with him. And some of the things that we are still grappling with, public transportation, accessibility within our trails. So I just, I think have had the privilege to work with all of you, and it's been really lovely. Mayor, thank you for your service. I think about when we were first elected, and shortly after the election had a major snowstorm, one after another, and were sworn in to sort of experience right out of the gate what it was like to get public comment and what it was like to sort of think more about how we can do better. And I think from day one, you have challenged all of us to not necessarily think, well, we're doing what we can, but what else can we do? And from handling snow to addressing homelessness, you care deeply about this community. And I've learned a lot from you as well. Commissioner Halliday, echo Commissioner Dean's comments. Your institutional knowledge has been an incredible asset, not just for us as a commission, but I think as the city has seen, turnover in leadership, to be able to sort of say, we looked at this 7 years ago. Should we go back to what we looked at before? Has been just an incredible thing to sort of witness, and I gained out of that. Danae, thank you for your work. Chief Hagan, I think, articulated it well. Everything that we have been through, you have been through, and just being able to support us through in-person to remote, to back to in-person, to back to remote, took a lot of work and thought, and just appreciate all of your work. And then to the rest of the staff, It has been a real pleasure to work with all of the staff. As a part-time commission, we rely heavily on the staff in implementing the policy decisions of this body. And there are a lot of things that we've been able to accomplish over the 4 years, and that would not have been possible without the staff's work. So from Rodney Street to sidewalk improvements to creating safe routes to schools, revised downtown zoning, the urban renewal district for the downtown area, reformed land use rules that better encourage housing development, the creation of the Housing Trust Fund and the implementation of that. There's a lot that has happened over the last 4 years, and I think a lot that this city can be proud of. And then finally, I just want to thank my family. When I decided to run, my daughter was 3. She's now in 2nd grade, and that is, a fair amount of her time, of her life, that she's sort of witnessed this and been part of it. In the first 2 years before COVID, she came to a lot of meetings with me, and I, have a lot of gratitude for the time that she's also gotten to experience. So I wish all of you the best of luck. I'm excited to see phase 2 of Rodney and Knight Street, hopefully, the full rollout of the Housing Trust Fund. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's to come. And I wish Commissioner-elect Fever and Commissioner-elect Reed best of luck as they embark in the next 4 years. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Halliday.
I don't know that I have anything much to say this evening, Mr. Mayor, but thanks for the fun.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion from the commission? Report of the city attorney.
Mayor, Commissioners, nothing this evening.
Report of the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Mayor, this being the last meeting of Commissioners Halliday and O'Loughlin, I personally also would like to say thank you for your historic background that you shared willingly and easily with me, and also for the one-on-one conversations and candor that you both have had with me so that I could understand and bring forward the staff as we hope to move forward some of those really key initiatives that you've mentioned as well. So thank you very much for your leadership. You've led some significant change in this community, and I think it's quite brave to be a city commissioner. So thank you for your service as well from me and the staff team. I also am pleased to share to you all that Brett Petty will be acting chief of police for Helena after the Chief Hagan has retired. Over the last several months, I've had the pleasure of working more directly with Brett. Not only is his appointment as assistant chief very important to the organization, he's helped weather some significant change within the department and some significant issues in the community, not only issues with regard to safety, but even my own personal emergencies as well. So I appreciate his leadership and that of the team in the police department. And I look forward to opening the actual position. I anticipate doing that. And while we go through this opening, I appreciate that Brett will be leading through that transition. My hope is to have an open recruitment, and we'll have that, hopefully that position filled by April at the latest. Those who are qualified should apply. And as you know, we have 2 other directors whose positions are anticipated to become vacant. One is the community development director and the other is the parks director. I'll be staggering the recruitments so that I have some time with new directors between. I hope to have a community development director on first, then recruitment for a police chief, and then parks in early summer. I want to point out that while Director Penozo has let us know that it's anticipated there is a transition in her future into another state, which is exciting for their family. She hasn't officially turned in her resignation, and until then, she's here. So I appreciate that time, but know that that is anticipated in the early spring. So, excuse me, late spring, early winter time. I do not also have an identified interim for the community development director. We'll be working on that over the next several weeks. Just want to make sure and share that too. So again, thank you, Brett, for being willing to step forward and lead the team during this transition. Yeah, and I look forward to working with you over the next several months. You'll notice, moving to the next key item on the agenda tonight, I just wanted to say that you'll notice the words in front of agenda items with regard to kind of the key phrases within each of the city commission's strategic outcomes. I think there's been a disconnect oftentimes when we bring items forward as to how those align, these items on the agenda align within the strategic outcomes. So everything that we do and bring before you should be moving your strategic outcomes forward. So the intention was to try and align how and what the analysis was with regard to the strategic outcomes. Now, they were assigned by way of budget. Many of these items were handled in advance of and during transitions between 2020, the 2021 and 2022 budget. Those are still the outcomes you all have been working on and that I have communicated to the team have been the priority. As we move to the new commission, those in a strategic plan, it's anticipated we revisit those and review them. So the intention is to try and align and more clearly communicate the work that we're doing in alignment with yours. You'll also notice on the memos that the team bring forward, there are little icons. Those icons are associated with one of the three. In particular, the tree is in alignment with promoting healthy and sustainable growth in Helena. The neighborhood look is the neighborhood livability, and then the siren light look is actually the icon is around community safety. So in items within safety related issues. So wanted to make sure and clarify why those words are within your agenda tonight and the purpose in trying to communicate better how the work we're doing is moving forward your strategic outcomes. And then last, all of the work that we do within the strategic outcomes not only fit within the new work of that work plan, but also really align with where you're hoping to go. Mayor, that concludes my update. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Manager Hollishock. Any comments or questions for the manager? Okay.
Thank you.
Communications from Helena Citizens Council. Representative Kleppmeyer. Madam Clerk. Do we have a representative? Oh, I see he raised his hand.
Thank you, Mayor Collins and Commissioners. This is Dylan Klappmeyer, the HCC Chairman. With it being the last meeting of the year, on behalf of the Helena Citizens Council, I want to thank Commissioners Halliday and O'Loughlin, as well as Chief Hagan for your service to the City of Helena. And also congratulations to Commissioners-elect Fever and Reed. We've reached out to them and look forward to working with Melinda and Eric in their new capacities as well. The HCC we don't have a meeting in December, so I don't have any new recommendations or policy updates for you, but just some information. There is a full slate of new HCC representatives coming in next month. We were happy to see all of the 7 districts across the city have at least 4 people running to fill all 28 of those positions on the Helena Citizens Council. So the swearing in of those new members and returning members will be on January 26th at the Civic Center during our regular monthly meeting, and want to thank Mayor Collins for coming in and swearing in those new and returning members. At that meeting, we'll also have officer elections. The current officers, myself included, that have been serving the past couple of years are not eligible to return to our positions. And so there will be a new executive committee. I'll be sure and introduce the new executive officers, including the chair, to all of you and the city manager and the city clerk to make sure that there's a seamless transition there. And I know that the new executive committee will look forward to hopefully getting back to normal next year, and being able to provide a more robust slate of recommendations to the commission on the budget and the future development of the city in the next couple of years. I think as we look back, COVID has kind of dominated the last 2 years that the current HCC has been in place. And I think we look forward to getting back to our mission and providing as many recommendations to you as we can in the year to come. But I look back in the last couple of years, and we did pass some good recommendations on a wide variety of issues of importance to the city of Helena, with regards to the budget, transportation, open lands, conservation, transportation, and even just our relationship and methods of communication between the HCC and the commission. Recently, the city manager sat down with the outgoing executive committee, and I appreciate her for doing that. And the public information officer has done a good job of engaging with the HCC as well, as we try and share information with our constituencies and also ensure that we're on top of the most important issues before the city so that we can make timely recommendations to you. So with that, again, just want to thank everyone. Hope everyone has happy holidays and a great new year. And if there's any questions or comments, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you, Mr. Clapmeyer, and happy Christmas to you also. Comments or questions for the representative?
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to briefly thank the outgoing officers for their work on the HCC. I think that the way that you all had presented the budget recommendations this past year was really clear and helpful to us. So appreciate all your work in your officer positions.
And while we're on this, Chief Petty, I want you to know you have the commission full support. If there's anything we can do to make this transition smooth, please let us know. Congratulations. Okay, regular items. Growth. To improve, conditionally approve or deny the request for preliminary plat approval made by Ron and Yvonne Pearson for the Pearson Minor subdivision located on the northwest corner of National Avenue and Idlewild Court. Manager Hollishaw.
Thank you, Mayor. I would have been, I apologize to Chief Hagan. I neglected to thank him for his service. And the beauty of having some time with him left in these next several weeks is that I also have more opportunities to say thank you. So know that while I may not be doing a public speech, I am having plenty of them behind the scenes. So I anticipate having more conversations and more thank yous. But I agree with you all that his service to this community has been astounding. And as his leadership has been obvious and palpable and important to many, many residents, including having to do city manager interim spots, which has been really appreciated. And that includes growth and other key items on our agendas. So while I want to go ahead and introduce to you that this item is recommends to you the approval of a preliminary plat for the Pearson Minor subdivision, creating 2 lots from approximately 0.33 acres and to adopt findings of fact for property legally described as lots 7 and 3. This item is available for conversation and further presentation to you all by our planner McConnell, who I believe is also present. I also know that Director Haugen may be calling in. She is currently in transit. I'm not sure if she's on, but I want to make sure and respect her role if she is in fact there. I cannot see them.
I see Dr. Haugen, you got anything you want to add? I guess not. Okay, commission discussion. Ooh. Mr. McConnell, are you there? Oh, please go ahead.
If I could share my screen, Madam Clerk. I have a very short presentation for you all.
If you give me just a moment, Mr. McConnell, I'm having some technical difficulties on my side. Mr. McConnell, is it possible for you to proceed with your report until I can figure out why the computer isn't giving you that option?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Commission, thank you. Like the city manager said, this is for the Pearson minor subdivision. It is a one lot minor subdivision, and the minor subdivisions differ from majors in several ways. One of which is that there's no requirement for a planning board hearing. There's no requirement for a public hearing. That's why this is on the regular agenda tonight. There is no requirement for a full environmental assessment, although the applicant is required to submit a summary of probable impacts as they relate to the state mandated review criteria. This particular minor subdivision, not all minor subdivisions, but this one in particular, is not required to donate any parkland or cash in lieu, as this subdivision only creates one additional lot. Also, this minor subdivision in particular, since it is projected to generate less than 200 trips per day, a traffic impact study is not required. As it relates to the IAP2 engagement program that we use here, certified letters were mailed out to adjacent property owners, and that's per our subdivision regulations as well. Some general information about this minor subdivision is a lot minor on 0.33 acres. This is generally located southwest of Custer Avenue and Montana Avenue, particularly on the corner of Idlewild Court and National Avenue. That's sort of behind the Murdoch's department store. You all know where that is. The property is currently and will remain after this subdivision with R3 zoning. That is a moderate to high density multifamily zone district. Currently, there is one duplex located on the lot. So yeah, this creates two lots, lot 7A, which is farther west of National Avenue, and lot 7B, which is where the current duplex is directly on the corner. The new lot being created is 5,800 square feet roughly. And it is anticipated by the applicant that another duplex will be placed on the newly created lot. So minor subdivisions, like major subdivisions, go through the same review process, or a very similar review process. And no significant adverse impacts were identified during that to the review criteria. I'll just list them so everyone is aware. Agriculture, water user facilities, public services, the natural environment, wildlife habitat, and public health and safety. So no significant adverse impacts were identified during the course of this review. This subdivision is currently on city water and sewer. The new lot will be as well. The current lot is also obviously on the city street network and sidewalk network, and the new lot will of course be on those as well. Since there are no adverse impacts identified, we are recommending that the City Commission move to approve the preliminary plat for this Pearson minor subdivision, creating two lots from approximately 0.33 acres, and to adopt the findings of fact for the property legally described. Mr. Mayor, that's all I've got for you. If there are any questions from the Commission, I'd be happy to address those now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McConnell. Comments or questions from the commission? None? Okay.
Mayor and Commissioners, pardon me, I don't mean to interrupt. Mr. McConnell, if you did have any exhibits that you needed to share, you should have the ability to screen share now.
Sure. I guess really, this is the general location. I wanted everyone to see that just so that you can get a better idea of where it is. The idea is to add 2 more housing units to the city. And this is a snippet from the preliminary plat document. You can see 7B where the current duplex is and 7A where another structure will be located in the future. But yes, that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McConnell.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just a brief question. I think I know the answer to this, but just want to be sure it's clear. Mr. McConnell, if this passes right now, once building does start occurring on either of these lots, the new construction has to be up to our local building code and approved through those processes as well, correct?
That's correct. It would need to be approved or need to be reviewed against current building codes right now if any other structures would be located on the property.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'd be happy to do a motion, but I'm wondering if we maybe want to do public comment before I do them, or would you like me to make the motion first?
Yeah, no, we can do it. Is there anyone from the public wishes to address this topic? Madam Clerk, do we have any raised hands?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I see no hands raised, and I do not see any written public comment on this item.
Okay. Commissioner O'Loughlin,
So I'll move to approve the preliminary plat for the Pearson Minor subdivision, creating 2 lots from approximately 0.33 acres and to adopt the findings of fact for property legally described as Lot 7, Block 3 of the amended plat of the Custer Avenue addition as shown on certificate of survey number 279421 in the records of the clerk and recorder of Lewis and Clark County, Montana.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Halliday,
Aye.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Loughlin,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Livability. Consider a resolution distributing downtown urban renewal district tax increment financing fund to Rodner Street Laundry parking lot paving at 122 North Rodner Street. Manager Hollishaw.
Thank you, Mayor. I know that Ms. Ray from our Community Development Office is also on the line for this one, as well as item C, 10C. These are both funding requests through the Downtown Urban Renewal District and in the Rodney Street Improvement Area. So, if you have further questions, Ms. Ray is also available for a quick presentation on this item as well as the next.
Ms. Ray, do you have any further information you want to present?
Mayor Collins, I can just start in brief what the proposals are. They are identical in nature, just different funding amounts essentially. And it's great to hear that Commissioner O'Loughlin was supporting praise for the Rodney Street Improvements projects as this follows on that effort. Both applicants, the Rodney Street Laundry, as well as Charlie Carson, the owner of the B&B Market, on the Rodney Street commercial area. They are seeking TIF funds. The laundry mat is seeking $18,500 in TIF funding with no match provided. Charlie Carson similarly is seeking an amount of, $16,350. And each applicant are seeking the funds to pave the parking lots at the property. They have actually already completed this work. At the time of submitting the application, the work was not done. It was not intended to be done prior to the TIF Advisory Committee actually having a discussion on each application. Just wanted to provide that for context. So the projects are complete, and these are part of overall efforts to improve that district in alignment with the growth policy, in alignment with the Downtown Urban Renewal District Plan. Each of these projects support the Downtown Urban Renewal District Plan goals of adding to and stimulating the district's vibrancy, investing in public infrastructure that helps attract additional development and investment. It provides pedestrian connections and builds neighborhood identity while also reinvigorating the Rodney Street corridor. At the November 8th Downtown Urban Renewal District Advisory Committee meeting, the members present voted unanimously in support of this application, which builds on, again, the work that's been done with the right-of-way reconstruction efforts for the Rodney Street area, and in support of the city's support of the Myrtle Loy creative placemaking application or project, that was funded through the National Endowment of the Arts, as well as a grant that was secured for the district through the AARP Community Challenge Grant Project. And all of these are helpful in promoting placemaking in the district and improving that vibrancy in that area that has been so sorely needed. And really, that is all I have to share on each of these applications. If you have any additional questions, I am here to answer those. And Charlie Carson from BMU Market is present, as is Jeannie Warden, who is one of the new owners of the laundromat.
Thank you, Ms. Ray. Comments or questions from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question. Ms. Ray, could you remind us how much is left in the downtown TIF fund currently?
Mayor and Commissioners, I would actually defer to Director Danielson if she's available to answer that question. As of December 8th, we had not yet gotten the first distribution from the tax year. That might have come in by now. I would expect probably that we have somewhere in the region of, let's see, about $120,000 in the fund. And these projects would constitute just over, well, nearly $35,000.
Dr. Danielson, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Thank you, Mayor. We have not received our tax receipts yet as of today that have been posted. So we're still waiting on that information.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the commission? Do we have any public comments? Oh, sorry, Commissioner O'Loughlin, please.
I just had a couple questions, Mayor, if that's okay.
Yes.
This is maybe a minor thing, but in our packet, we have a recommended motion to, I think, support this. And then generally we receive a summary of what the advantages are of that motion and what the disadvantages are. The way that I read the disadvantage summary, I think it's sort of the disadvantages of not supporting the motion. So I just flag that because I think I don't disagree that that's a disadvantage of potentially not supporting it, but I think the goal of that memo is really to give us a sense of, like, to Commissioner Dean's question, how much money is left? Are there other applications pending? What would potentially be the disadvantage of supporting it? So that's just maybe kind of a smaller comment. My question, though, I guess I have a couple for the city and maybe just a sense from the applicants, but the minutes of the TIF district advisory board, there's a little bit of conversation about sort of the timing of applications and how the TIF advisory board is reviewing those, say, every 6 months. It sounds like the city and the advisory board is comfortable making exceptions when there's time-sensitive projects. I'm wondering if there's been conversation, and I think this is probably for Ms. Ray, about sort of capping what can come in front of the advisory board, like a dollar amount cap if there's a time-sensitive thing, versus somebody coming saying this is time sensitive and I'm seeking $500,000. Has there been conversation about allowing for applicants to come forward with time sensitive, but perhaps capping how much that might be?
Mayor and Commissioners, to that direct question, no, there hasn't been a discussion about capping applications that come through that are off cycle, as it were. But we have had in recent meetings, I approached the subject with the board to say, hey, it might be advantageous to consider match requirements generally, capping funding amounts altogether. Similar to what it's done in the Railroad TIF district currently, which if you apply for funding in that district, there is a flat out request for 50% match be provided by an applicant, which thus far has not posed any financial issue for any applicants. So these discussions are ongoing. I appreciate that when this board actually were able to get started and working, it was during the pandemic. At the outset of the pandemic, I should say, and that in the interest of trying to support downtown businesses, they made every effort to try and just get funding out the door because it was so time sensitive in nature. And they did not at that stage wish to pursue requiring match, particularly for applicants, that might be nonprofits, for example, that financially would be more difficult. So there have been discussions about requiring match. There have been discussions about making the twice-a-year application cycle a fast and hard thing, or having it be more on a rolling basis as it is with the railroad TIFs. So those discussions are ongoing, and coincidentally, we're going to be having some meetings as a subcommittee of the board with a couple of the members to try and figure out what recommendations there should be that they should move forward with on that front.
Great, thank you. And Mayor, maybe just a question for the applicants, and this might be for Mr. Carson, and I know his application is, I think, second on our agenda, but if it's okay to just sort of, since they're kind of for the same project, I'd just be curious and would certainly be open if Mr. Carson has just general public comment about this, but given the construction and the work that was done on Rodney, sort of how he has been doing, just given the closure of the street, if what has there been an impact to his business, and how is he feeling about the construction project as a whole in sort of moving traffic along Rodney? If Mr. Carson or Ms. Wagner have any thoughts on that.
Madam Clerk, do we have the applicants?
I apologize, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. It doesn't appear that Mr. Carson's mic is working on his end. If he give me just a moment, Ms. Warden. I will go ahead and ask your permission to step into the other office so that I can give them that ability. I apologize. This computer out here has decided to stop working on me. So I will be back momentarily.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I've given Mr. Carson and Ms. Warden access to their mics.
Mr. Carson, you have the floor.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commissioner McLaughlin, what were your direct questions?
Mayor, I was just curious, just given that we've completed phase one of Rodney Street, how has it been for you? I mean, I think this is a good project, and I appreciate the city bringing it forward to the commission. I'm supportive. I just thought it would be helpful, since we have you, how have things gone with the construction of Rodney Street? How are you feeling about, now that phase one is complete, sort of what it means for you all?
Well, as you know, I mean, it was difficult to get to our businesses, the laundromat and the and the B&B. Speaking for myself, I know that we had a big financial impact, but you know, in the end, the street is just plain sexy, is what how it's been described, and I cannot disagree with it. With the endowment of the Myrna Loy and all the art that's gone up, and these fantastic street lights. Oh, I don't know if you guys have seen them, but they look absolutely great. And thank you so much. I'm tickled pink. I just am happy. This has been much needed for so long, and it looks fantastic. And there's just so much more that's out there in the near future that's going to be done. And it's going to be, I believe, a fun neighborhood for Helena and a destination.
Thank you, Mr. Carson. Ms. Warden, you have the floor.
Yeah, this isn't Mrs. Warden, this is Mr. Warden, and
We're here together.
we're both here together.
Okay,
We
you have the floor.
definitely like to say that this has been a wonderful experience for us in improving the neighborhood that I grew up in and that we live in. And all the improvements have just been, so overdue. And I used to call Rodney Street Old Patch because it's just a street of patches, just a bumpy street. During the construction process, we did experience a very significant loss in revenue for our business. Because laundry, you need to be able to pull up and take your stuff out of your car and get it into the laundromat, and it was a big challenge to get people to redirect. So we're so happy it's completed. The pavement of our parking lot has been such an improvement. There's nobody tripping anymore. It's nice, it's smooth, everything looks good. It's we're just so overly happy that it's been done. And we do believe that it is a great improvement for not just us, but it benefits our neighbors at the B&B. It benefits our neighbor across the street or right next to us that operates a storage facility. Our neighbors that have a bakery. It constitutes an improvement for the whole area. And I guess that's what I have to say on it. Sorry, I'm pretty nervous speaking on this. I really don't get a chance to speak.
It's okay, Mr. Warden. We heard every
my
word.
first Zoom meeting in a long time, so wasn't planning on doing this. Thank you.
That's fine. We heard you.
Well, Mayor, I'll just make a comment and just say, when we first considered sort of the district for the downtown urban renewal district, it did not include Rodney. It did not include this area. And I think the commission ultimately tabled it and asked the staff to think about what could this look like. And so I think it's exciting to have some applications in to utilize the increment in the Rodney Street area. I'm excited to see what's to come. I think as this increment continues to build, there's going to be a need for the city to really think strategically about how we use this money. I'll make another pitch for a redevelopment agency as needed capacity for the city that unfortunately didn't move. But I think this is a great start, and I'm excited to see, what's to come in this area. So thank you, Mayor.
Thanks. Okay,
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
please go ahead, Commissioner.
Thanks. So probably for Charlie, but Jeannie or Zach also feel free to chime in. Not specifically on your project. I'm supportive of it. It looks great. The street looks great. Being a neighbor just around the corner. But piggybacking off of Commissioner O'Loughlin's comments at the end there, where Rodney was not included in the original TIF district, I think the commission and staff strategically thought about bringing it in. I noticed that at the end of the meeting minutes, Mr. Carson, you and some other members of the board spoke about Cruz Avenue and its importance on to Rodney, right? And as a connection point to the downtown and the cohesiveness of the district. And I'm wondering if you could give some feedback, because I could go on all night about the importance of Cruz Avenue, but I'd love to hear it from the folks who are working, I think, day in and day out to make Rodney Street an even more awesome place, and how Cruz fits into that in your mind.
Mr. Carson, do you want to come?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you, Mr. Commissioner. The Cruz Avenue is a no man's land. It's a separation between downtown and Rodney Street. I envision, the affordable housing through there, and with that comes people, and with people comes commerce, comes vitality. It will enhance not just downtown but Rodney Street, and the connectivity of the two will be complete. That is, if it's done correctly and has a walkability between the two. Back in Old Helena, there were these old streets that connected Rodney or probably more Warren and Rodney Street. And those streets are gone now, but the parking structure's there, and but it's the importance of it, and it'll help with the tax base. Just tremendous things would be. It's a very, very good thing for downtown, in my opinion. That's all I got to say, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Carson. Any comments or questions from the commission?
Just a thank you to Mr. Carson, and Commissioner O'Loughlin made her pitch for the redevelopment agency, and I'll just make my pitch to the three of you who will be here. Cruz Avenue could be done in 3 to 5 years so easily. It just takes the three of you to actually say, get her done. It's a project that will pay for itself. Use the TIF funds, do the work, let it pay for itself, get out of the way. Let more people build buildings like they're doing the work at the Independent Building. Let more people put housing up on those plots, dedicate them toward affordable housing, dedicate them to what you want. But it takes a bit of will. People say, oh man, I'm so glad the city did what it did with the Independent Building. They didn't do anything with the Independent Building, right? It permitted it, walked through the process. You've got all this land where you could have 2 or 3 more. All you got to do is actually prioritize it, and listen to the constituents, listen to the people from Rodney Street, listen to the members of the BID. They all want this. The thing hanging it up right now is the city. I highly encourage you, take those funds, strategically use them. You're going to have $500,000 in the tank of that TIF soon, with the ability to just pull the trigger and do it. you'll be thanked in 15 years for a transformative process. So please plan and do.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments? I'll entertain a motion. We'll do both of them, Bravo and Charlie, together.
Mr. Mayor, if I may interrupt for just a moment, would you like to do public comment on these items?
I thought that's what we're doing with Mr. Carson. And anyway, do we have anyone from the public? Do you have any raised hands, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, I do not have any hands raised. I did receive one written public comment, if I may read it into the record.
Would you please?
From James Servo, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your last name. There is plenty of nearby on-street parking. We should not be supporting parking lots in high-density urban areas. TIF funds are for removing blight. Parking lots in urban centers are blight. Use the funds to improve access that is not car dependent. And that is all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Now, I'll entertain a motion.
You want them together?
Yes, please.
Mr. Mayor, I will move to approve a resolution distributing downtown urban renewal district tax increment financing funds to Rodney Street Laundry for parking lot paving at 122 North Rodney Street and B&B Market for parking lot paving at 100 North Rodney Street.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Halliday.
Aye.
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Loughlin.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion's carried 5-0.
All right. Public hearings. 11A, growth. Consider a resolution establishing fees to be charged for the Bill Roberts Municipal Golf Course for the 2022 season. Manager Hollishaw.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. This item is an item that has been brought forward as part of a December 6th resolution of intention. In that conversation, there were questions around the dollar amount to be anticipated to be yielded, as well if there was the opportunity for the distinction between how much is anticipated to be returned between both residential and non-residential customers to the golf course. Wanted to close the loop on that. I also know that Director Pinozo and her team are on the line if you have questions as well after this public conversation. Ultimately, the team believes that the increase of 2.5% will result in $120,000 additional dollars into the fund. The hope is always to break even with this enterprise as well. This item is one of the last questions you all had for us during the last conversation was whether or not there was a way to distinguish between residents and non-residents. And the teams shared they have not had that level of regiment around the structure itself. And it is oftentimes based on a system where the person who is paying is either confirming or not their resident. The method of researching addresses is not something that is available to the team at this time. It is something that is being focused on. Other ideas that are being studied are the use of a potential resident ID card to ease the verification process for our staff, as well as other easier transition and incentive information. Oftentimes, someone will say, well, their zip code should work, and the zip codes are established by the Postal Service and don't necessarily align with the borders of the City of Helena. So I just wanted to make sure and close the loop on those two outstanding questions from the last conversation on this item. And I'll turn it over to Director Pinoza and her team if she has anything else to offer by way of presentation or information to you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Pinoza, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't think I do. I think City Manager Hollishaw covered it all. So I think we're ready for the public hearing. We're discussion or any questions you would have.
Comments or questions from the commission? Go ahead, Commissioner Laughlin.
Mayor, I will vote for this today, but I did share sort of my kind of general frustration with getting this so late in the calendar year. Same thing happened last year where we asked similar question about resident versus non-resident, and we're essentially told, well, we really need to move this before Christmas because people buy, their season passes for the holidays. And then this is coming to us again at our last meeting of the calendar year. So I think, golf is the golf fund is something that I think the commission and the city is going to have to continue to grapple with. It would be helpful if I think this came to the commission, months before the end of the calendar year so that the commission is really given the opportunity to have a thoughtful conversation about the fees that are imposed and the solvency or the lack of solvency of this fund. So I've shared that with the city manager. It will be future commissions to grapple with, but I think that's been a little challenging to get this really toward the end. I would have liked to have a little bit more time to really think this through and potentially propose amendments, and unfortunately weren't given the opportunity to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments or questions from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, just when we had suggested deviating from a flat rate to a distinction between resident and non-resident, part of that had been the fact that the general fund was now being asked to actually support the golf fund. That was when we had a very relatively small subsidy that was being provided by the general fund. And now in the last, year and a half, we've gone over $750,000 of City of Helena residents' money that's being pumped into the golf fund. So it makes more sense than ever, right, to ask those who come in from outside of town who don't pay general fund taxes, who are essentially enjoying a subsidized round of golf on the backs of residents who don't even play golf. It doesn't make any sense. We ask at the pool. I take my kids to the pool and I'm asked at the front desk, do you live in the city limits of Helena? I say, yeah. A lot of people say no. Right. Ask people a question. Most people are honest. We don't sit around thinking everybody's a liar to cheat them out of the 50 cents for the pool entry. So there are solutions here, and it should have been pursued. And I understand Commissioner Laughlin's frustrations. It's a question that was asked even before the commission did the prior year, and it was the same thing every year. Parks just didn't want to pursue it. So I'll vote for it because the city needs the increase in revenue, but you're fleecing your own residents.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just one question. How are we going to identify did I hear you saying we were going to have ID cards? Manager?
Mayor and Commissioners, the team last week and maybe even 2 weeks ago, we've been having a pretty direct conversation around resident and non-resident fees. And part of the conversation, as I understand it, around creating the distinction between the resident and non-resident was brought up within the Greenplay review of the programs and services within the Parks Department. As I understand it, the intention was to distinguish the resident and non-resident in addition to obviously trying to break even, but also to identify all of those who live outside the city who could impact the improvements within the city, and specifically in a recreation district conversation. So as was identified last time that I met with the directors, it's very important that we be able to distinguish the level of work that the team is putting in for those who do not pay into the primary tax, in particular when the general fund is balancing out those dollars. So yes, a resident card could be up for analysis. There's also other methods such as a GIS system, which makes it easier for us to validate addresses based on current geographical limits within the boundaries of the city of Helena. Right now, we do not have those pieces of equipment, and those are things that we will look into. In the big picture, the potential for using a resident ID card might make it a lot easier. So it'll be something the team will be analyzing over the next several months. It could have a larger benefit to the city overall in that recreation district conversation.
So will it be ready for the next season?
The resident card or just
Whichever
whatever
way,
this distinction.
yeah.
Yeah, my hope is, yes. I know that Director Panozzo has been working, immediately she turned in around and started working with the team on potential solves. What has been nice with using these director meetings is the idea of sharing resources when they have them available to them, not necessarily available to the parks team and the recreation team are those geographic downloads. So in the GIS, it's not necessarily that they didn't know they were there or that they didn't have access to them. They just didn't know that they could use them as a tool. So we're looking into a variety. My hope is, yes, that they would have it available as soon as possible. But we'll just see how fast we can get through a solve that makes sense. And I'll make sure and report back to you all on what is implemented.
Okay. Any other comments from the commission? Do we have any public comments? Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have no hands raised at this time, and I see no written public comment online.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
move to approve a resolution of intention to establish fees to be charged for the Bill Roberts Municipal Golf Course for the 2022 season.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion?
Mayor, Commissioners, this is Thomas. I just want to clarify, this is a final resolution, Commissioner Logan, not a resolution of intention.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Halliday,
Aye.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Loughlin,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Livability, public hearings to take comments as to whether the fire tower apartments will address community housing needs for Helena. Manager Hollishaw.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Both 11B and 11C are both in the same vein in that they are public hearings. They do not require a motion or a move to adopt by the commission. They are a process required by the Department of Revenue overall, who ultimately make the decision on these nonprofit tax abatements. These nonprofit tax abatements are a method that are evaluated at the Department of Revenue level and not at the state's, at the city's level. Those are a method of evaluating particular requirements and something that the city actually does not prescribe, that instead the state does. So all that is needed is to open the hearing, hear comments, and close for each of these next two items. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, discussions from the commission? Is there any public comments? Madam Clerk,
Mr. Mayor, I do have one hand raised online. Tyson O'Connell. You have the floor, Mr. O'Connell.
Thank you. Mayor and Commissioners, can you hear me correctly?
clearly hear you.
Great. Okay. We're here tonight, as was just introduced, for a public hearing to discuss adding two nonprofit partners to two different affordable housing projects that Wish Camper Development Partners owns in Helena, Montana. The first is East Park Villas, which is an affordable housing complex that has 38 affordable homes serving seniors over 55. And the second is the Fire Tower Apartments, which has 44 units that serves families and elderly persons and persons with disabilities. 31 of these units are supported by housing assistance payment contracts from HUD. So they serve very low income residents at the Fire Tower. Together, East Park Villas and Fire Tower Apartments include 82 affordable homes, and both projects have long-term land use restrictions that will keep them affordable to benefit Helena families and the community for many years in the future. We're here tonight to present a nonprofit partner named Opportunity Council. They'll be the partner for both projects. Wish-Camper Development Partners has worked with them on a number of other projects throughout Oregon and Washington. And they are a resident services coordinator that helps with referrals between residents and local service agencies, providing welfare and social services. This is really important that some of the folks living in our projects have access to these social services and resident services. And Opportunity Council has been a good partner of Wish-Camper Development Partners on previous projects. The mayor and commissioners previously submitted a letter of support to the Montana Board of Housing. I think it's been a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, to support the rehabilitation of Fire Tower Apartments. I'm very happy to report that despite a pandemic and an occupied rehab that was full of challenges, we are nearly complete on the Fire Tower Apartment rehabilitation. I think we should be getting our CFO in the next week for the project. With that, as was noted earlier, I would be happy to take any questions if anybody has questions. And if you don't, that's okay too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connell. Madam Clerk, do we have any other public comments?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have no other hands raised and I've received no written public comment online.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Commissioner Laughlin, my apology.
Oh, that's okay. I just have one question for Mr. O'Connell. It sounds like he's speaking maybe on behalf of both projects. So I know that we've got Fire Tower first, but if it's okay, I have a question on the other one. And I know we got a packet of information by email with the updated Fire Tower one. So thank you to the clerk. But I just had a question on the East Park Villa. I'm less familiar. I'm very familiar with Fire Tower, and congratulations, Tyson, on all of the work. It's looking really great. On the East Villa or East Park Villa, was that recently awarded by the Board of Housing, or is that an older project? And do you know if it's with the 4% or the 9% credits?
Commissioner Laughlin, first of all, thank you very much for your support of this project from day one when we first proposed it at Fire Tower. I greatly appreciate it. And I'd also like to answer your question, but I'd also like to thank Commissioner Holliday, who, again, from the very start, realized this was an important project for downtown and that the rehabilitation was something that the commissioners were going to support. That's related to Fire Tower. Related to the East Park Villas, it's an existing tax credit project that was, I believe, awarded 9% credits and is already constructed and is existing. And at this point, the real estate tax exemption is something that was applied for as part of the transaction to purchase this, so that some of the money can go back into the project without a full tax credit rehab. As you know, Commissioner Laughlin, those are particularly the 9% tax credits are very competitive and sought after. And this project was built in the 1990s. It's still in actually great shape, but it needed a small recapitalization without the use of a full competitive tax credit award. And so Wish-Camper Development Partners made a choice to purchase the property with the pending application for the real estate tax exemption to be able to put those some sources back into the project for the rehab.
Great. That is very helpful. Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Tyson, for your work on that as well.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
I just have one other question, Mr. Mayor. I'm wondering if maybe, Mr. O'Connell, you can give us a little bit of background on Opportunity Council and if they're involved in other communities in Montana as well. I know in our packet, it includes it's a Washington-based nonprofit. So I wonder if you could just maybe give us some background and if they're planning to maybe expand more in our community as well?
I can answer that question, Commissioner. Opportunity Council was not involved in Montana until Wishkemper Development Partners approached them and asked them to serve the role that they've served for us and many other developers in Washington and Oregon. They may have projects in Idaho, and I'm not sure about that, but it's something that made sense with the expertise that they have and the in-house resources that travel a lot better than people realize. And it is their first pair of projects in Montana, to my knowledge. I suspect they will be involved in the community and throughout Montana in the future with Wishkemper Development Partners and other developers.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Do we have any other public comments? Thank you. Where are we? Okay, is there anyone from the public wishes to address the commission? Madam Clerk, do we have any raised hands?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have no hands raised for general public comment, and I have received no written public comment online.
Okay, thank you. I see we missed the minutes.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and I apologize. I was just hoping we could get approval of the December 6th minutes if.
Yeah. Our regular city commission minutes for December 6th were received. Do we have any comments, questions, corrections? If not. Yeah. I'll entertain a motion for the minutes.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move the minutes from December 6, 2021.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Halliday.
Aye.
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Loughlin.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Any final comments from the commission? I just want to say to the two commissioners that are leaving, I want to reiterate how the city of Helena appreciated all that you've done for the city and the commission. We thank you. But I mean, I just want you to know I still have your numbers. So you're not running far. We will use it. Thanks. At this time, this meeting is adjourned.